Hello and welcome to another edition of Really, I'm a Grandparent. Hi, I'm James Lott Jr. This is episode 40. We're doing 40 of these for the last year and a half. We've had some great guests on here, from music teachers to famous stars. Everybody's coming on this show talking about being a grandparent. Yes, to my grandparents. And this show was voted one of the top grandparent podcasts on feedspottoday.com in 2021. So thank you, feedspot.com, always looking out for us. And so I always try to bring you guests who are trying, changing the face of the grandparent these days. They're not sitting in rocking chairs, baking cookies. Well, some are baking cookies, and I do like a good rocking chair, but we're doing more of that. We are doing more of that. And it goes with society as we're living longer and living healthier longer. So my guest is known as the ripped grandpa. I love that he used the word grandpa because I use it myself also. I'm not ashamed of it. It's fine. We're doing that. But now he is the owner of Beyond 40. So we're going to talk about exactly what that is, what products he uses, all that kind of stuff. He has all kinds of stuff going on there. But apparently, he first started his fitness journey. Now, you see his pictures online. This dude isn't playing around. He does work out. That's what he does. And apparently, 2 decades ago, I can't believe it was like 2 decades ago, he was first runner-up champion for the world-renowned Body of Life transformation. They beat like over 23,000 people, something like that. But just tell you, he works out. He believes in good living. He believes in clean living. He's written books. He has merch, and he has a nice family too. Also, and he's also faith-based, like I am. So I like that. Help me welcome. Not all that intro. I'm like, after all that, yeah. Shaun Hadsall. Hi, Shaun.
Hi. Thanks for having me, man. Excited to be here and excited about your audience. Obviously, we can both relate to being grandparents. Is a game changer for everybody. I mean, that becomes one. It really is a game changing because I think we have so much experience now, right? We've been through it. I mean, yeah, we can give them back and all that. That's amazing, right? If they want to be moody, we can just, okay, go deal with mom and dad. But I think the good part is that when you become a grandparent, you've already went through the parenting process. And so you have all that experience under your belt. And so it allows you to, in my opinion, to be in such a healthier spot to help mentor them.
So now I'm glad you said we're going to talk about that in a second. But I have to ask the question first. I always ask these questions first. So you are indeed a grandpa, correct?
Correct.
How old are you now?
I'm 51.
And how old were you when you had your first grandchild?
Well, my first grandchild was born 7 years ago.
Very good. Okay, very good. And how many do you have now?
10.
You have 10. Wait, yeah, I saw a bunch on one of these pictures. You have 10?
10 of them. So
how many kids do you have?
Blended family. So I have 4 kids.
Oh, okay.
And my daughter has my 3 grandsons. My stepdaughter is the same age as her. She has 4. So between the 2 girls, we have 7 of them. And then my other 2 sons have the other 3. And so we have 10 grandkids under 7 years old. And it was totally a game changer in my life for sure.
Okay. So that's amazing. First of all, okay. So I have 4 grandchildren, and one was born, then there was a gap. Then 2 were born near each other, like they call the twins, or not. They're not really twins, but they were born close. And then it was a whole. Then I gained 1 last year, so it's been like a big gap. So I was having problems trying to navigate 3 at one point, and 2. I can't, and they were so close to age, I can't even imagine trying to navigate 7 under a certain age. That is like, it's beautiful and also crazy at the same time, isn't it?
It is, but fortunately, I don't have to, raise them, so to speak. I can just be the fun papa, right, and give them back. So it's not nearly as overwhelming as if they were my own kids. So yes, 10 of them, all under 7 years old. The kids were like bam, 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 bam.
Yeah.
And so I mean, now actually 2 of them are upstairs right now being babysitted by Nana. So
that's good. That's cute. I love that. Now, how many? So you said. So how many kids did you have? You have how many kids?
Actually, when we talk about like the ripped grandpa, like my fitness, like in general, became an anchor in my life when I was 20 years old, when my daughter was born.
There you go. Okay. So I'm starting. So there's a line of questions why I'm going this direction, because I know for me, I had 2 girls. I didn't have boys. I have 3 grandsons. which is very funny because now I have boys to play with. But I had 2 girls, and I always say, girls, and of course, out of all my grandchildren, my granddaughter and I are the closest on some level. And some weird, of course. I don't know. I guess I'm a girl dad. I guess I just can't help it. It's not about that. But I love my grandson. I love having them. It's so much fun. But you're right. When you have that kid, I had my daughter. I was young. I was young. It does change your perspective on the future. It changes perspective on your present, obviously, because you're in it. But becoming a grandpa, though, I want to ask you. I had found out that sometimes it can be hard to watch your kids' parents sometimes, because I'm not the parent. So I want to find out from you, how do you navigate the boundaries, or is it just easy for you? That you're like, I know what my role is. I mean, how do you navigate that?
No, I'm with you on that struggle. I think the hard and fast rule that I have is that when the parents are around, they do the parenting and not me. And so, if they want to be bad or misbehave, I step back, and it's hard. At first you bite your tongue because your initial reaction is just to parent.
Yes.
But I step back and let the parents take care of it. Now, when we're babysitting them and they aren't around, well, then we'll bring down the hammer when we need to bring down the hammer, and discipline them accordingly. And that's kind of my hard and fast rule. It's like, when we're alone with them, then I'm allowed to do that stuff. When we're not, I step back and bite my tongue and let the parents handle it. Even if I don't like the way that they're handling it, it's not my child. And so that is a tough thing, because we already have kids. So it's naturally, we want to extend that behavior to the grandkids, but we have to realize that it's not our job when the parents are around.
Thanks for sharing that. I mean, because we told this on the show sometimes, that they ask me, how new grandparents who watch the show go, how do I not say nothing, or how do I just want to say, it is hard sometimes. And then there's other times where it's beautiful. You see them really, the kids are flourishing and they're blossoming, and that is because of their parents. And so you see that also. So there's both sides, but I just want to say, let's get real. There are times, because we are parents first. It's like you said, it's a natural instinct. So you watching and listening to this, it's natural. But I like your approach, Shaun. It's kind of almost like you have to stay united for the kids. If they see you fighting with their parents, it may become confusing, and weird and all that stuff. So it's kind of like, I like your approach, like mine. It's kind of like, maybe in private, I may say something in private every once in a while. I may say something, but in public, like you said, you're the parent, so I will just do your thing. So not always easy, but I just want people out there who watch always ask me all the time, how do you guys do it? Shaun takes my approach, I can tell. Okay, so now for your branding, so what were you doing? You always were on a fitness journey, of course, obviously, but what were you doing before you began this Beyond 40?
Well, I started my career right after my daughter was born. I was hanging around all the wrong people. I was partying, I was doing drugs. And then when she was born, all of a sudden I had something else to live for. And so it changed the way I wanted to behave. And so what happened was they kept her from me. Her mom and her family kept my daughter from me for off and on for the first 5 years of her life. I rarely saw her. When I did, it was because her mom was desperate for a babysitter. She wanted to go partying. But what happened was I wanted more than anything to be a father, and I couldn't see my daughter. And so I spent 5 years in and out of court fighting for joint legal custody rights. And then one day I was checking out at a grocery store, and I saw a magazine. This is back when people actually read magazines.
Magazines. I remember those.
1998. It's called Muscle Media. I started reading this story about this father. He was struggling. It was about a transformation contest. This father was struggling getting custody of his kids, or getting custody rights of his kids. And of course that echoed my own challenges. And so I bought the magazine, I entered the contest, and 12 weeks later, as you mentioned, I was first runner-up grand champion out of over 23,000 finishers. I had 6-pack abs for the first time in my life. I burned like 25 pounds of belly fat. I gained like 5 pounds of muscle, but all that really was just a bonus side effect, because what I realized after that 12-week journey of focusing and putting my health first, and my diet and my exercise plan first, was that it becomes like a faucet that leaks over into every other area of your life in a positive way. So at the end of that contest, I landed a modeling contract. I was featured in magazines. I was on ESPN. I had mended broken relationships that I had in my life. I had paid off all my debts. But most importantly, I had joint legal custody rights of my daughter at the end of that contest. And so what I realized is that about fitness and in general is if you're going to follow through with any goal in life, you need to find the source of your deepest emotional triggers, your big reason why. And my daughter was my reason why. And I think if I didn't have that deep burning desire in my heart to get joint legal custody rights and be a part of her life, I probably would have bailed during that contest. And so fast forward to today, now my grandkids are my big reason why. I want to continue to stay healthy and have energy and be able to play with them as they grow up and get older. Also, because I didn't see my daughter for nearly the first 5 years of her life off and on. I mean, I remember they dropped her off at my house. She wouldn't even know who I was. She'd sit in my arms and she'd cry because she didn't know who I was. That's a terrible feeling. So when my grandkids were born, I remember that. And I told my wife, I'm going to be the world's best papa, because I missed nearly 3 out of the first 5 years of my daughter's life. And I'm not going to miss anything that these grandkids do growing up. I'm going to be there for everything I can. And so I guess the lesson out of all of this is no matter what a goal is in life, whether it's health and fitness, whether it's just being an amazing grandparent, you need to find that emotional trigger, that deep reason why that's going to carry you through. So that was my catalyst to getting into health and fitness. I opened up a couple personal training studios in Ann Arbor, Michigan, about 5 years later after becoming a personal trainer. We drove those. My wife and I drove those to number 8 in the world out of over 380 franchises. And then we sold those in 2008 to start my online company. And that's how Beyond 40 came to be. And so Beyond 40 is trademarked now. And really our philosophy at Beyond 40 is just redefine aging. I think so many people are so ashamed of their age. And instead of embracing their age, listen, you have more experience, you're wiser, you've been through more, right? And so I think as we get older, yeah, I have more aches and pains. Yes, I have more hair growing out of my nose and my ears, right? But at the same time, I'm wiser, I'm more experienced. And so I think we need to embrace that. And I want to flip this whole aging thing on its head. I want to redefine aging for people, especially grandparents.
Yes. Now, where's my bell? I was on my bell. I have to get the bell for that one. I know, I agree. No, I do. I mean, I work in Hollywood, so I know about the aging thing. Don't say your age, James. Why you always about age, James? I talk about it all the time. I made a joke. I won an award a few years ago, and it went viral, the video. So at the end, I said, this is for the old guys. And I said at the end, and so and all these guys in the business, because they're going, I'm one of the old guys. Like we were saying it as a proud thing. We're talking down. I wasn't talking down to us. I was just saying that I'm tired of us being, putting this like after you turn 40, that's it, kids. You should just go off to pasture and never be seen again. Bye, Shaun. It was nice knowing. Thanks for living for 40. And you're like, no, we actually, I think I said we're also viable. We're valuable. We have things to contribute. Like you said, we have more experience. We've been through some things. I mean, like I right there with you, Shaun. I just think that's why when I read your bio and you were pitched to me, I was like, I want to talk to him because he is redefining what, even the word grandpa, there are folks who hate that word. Oh, that's an old person. I'm like, I'm Papa, I'm Grandpa, I'm Papa. I'm both. I'm kind of both.
Yeah.
My grandfather was Grandpa Bob. He was Grandpa. We love. He was Grandpa Bob. I mean, I love that. So was that a choice for you? Like, because everybody chooses what names they want, like Nana and stuff. You like, I want to be Papa Grandpa. That's something you chose.
I think it was kind of came from my wife's family. Her mom and dad were Nana and Papa. And it was just like a natural fit right out of the gate. And then the other people in the family were being called grandpa. The other grandpas were being called grandpa. And so I figured it was just a way to differentiate. So I just kind of went with what my wife's family wanted to do. So we are Nana and Papa. And obviously, it doesn't matter either way, right? Being whatever your name is, right? Just embrace it.
Yes. Now, I want to ask you, people are going to ask me this when they watch this sometimes, like, how'd you gain the confidence? Because I'm really curious. Doing this journey of obviously doing self-discovery as you're working out. You're finding out about yourself, what your limits are, correct what your limits aren't. How'd you gain confidence in yourself? As you said, you came from this, you were young. We all were young. We were all partying. We all did that. How'd you gain confidence?
I think that fitness gave me confidence, because physical fitness equals emotional fitness. It equals spiritual fitness, right? It equals mental fitness. And so I think naturally that when we take care of ourselves and we engage in exercise and we nourish our body the right way, we allow our brain to release the hormones and the chemicals that will affect parts of our brain that will automatically increase our self-esteem and become more positive. I also think that fitness and in general, health in general, is a catalyst to building your confidence automatically, because when we like more what we see in the mirror, we're not as ashamed of what we see in the mirror, automatically we become more confident in every other area. Right. And so I think it's just a natural progression that happens to people. I think the biggest challenge with all this as we get older, and I see this with my wife because she's 11 years older than me, so she's 62, is that we get caught in a comparison trap. And instead of measuring backwards to how far we've personally come in our own lives and where we've been and where we are now, we compare ourselves to other people. Like I always tell my wife, she's always comparing herself. I'm like, honey, like you look more amazing than 99% of the women your age, but you're too busy comparing yourself to the females that are 20 years younger than you. And I think this can carry over into any other area in the social media as well, right? It becomes a comparison trap. So my advice to people as we age, measure backwards, right? If you're unhappy with what you see when you look in the mirror, go get an old picture of yourself when you were fit, put it up in front of the mirror, and look at it every day, because you can get there again or get close to where you were once. You were there once before, and now you're comparing yourself to yourself, not some unrealistic expectation of somebody else or some Hollywood celebrity that's been airbrushed and slapped on the cover of a magazine or a website.
Well, again, good points. That's very good points. We do the comparison thing so much, and we need to get off of that. And I've seen your page, and a lot of times you're comparing yourself to yourself. You know, like here's where I was 6 months ago, or here's where I was. Like you're always focused on yourself, and that's what we have to stay in our lanes. You got to stay in our lane, not try to
totally
somebody else's lane. Just stay in your own lane. I agree with that. I just want to ask, it's a personal thing. I just want to ask, being runner up that first time out, how did it feel? Because there's all these folks to be almost the top of something, but to me, you're still the top of something because you were one of the top 2 or whatever, top 3 people who made it that far. How did it feel?
I realized that before that I was wasting my potential in life.
Yeah. Okay.
So what it made me feel was like going back to what you said with it raised my confidence. It raised my BS, my belief system.
Love it.
Right. And I think that really what people don't realize is you have the most powerful supercomputer in the world, and it's right between your ears. And it's just understanding how to use that. And weight loss, is one of the ultimate examples of the power of the brain because of the placebo effect and what happens to people's brain. And if we look at neuroscience and in general, if you believe that what you're doing, we'll use fitness as an example, to lose weight, feel better, have more energy, stay younger, and all that stuff is working, then it's going to work. If you don't believe it's working, it won't work. And there's tons of neuroscience and research that actually proven this. Now, one of the most powerful studies I'll mention is they took 2 groups of dieters and they gave them the same smoothie. It was a 350 calorie smoothie. Okay. One group, they told it was 620 calories. It was full of fat and sugar and it was filling. The other group, they told it was 160 calories and it was a diet shake and it was good for them. Okay. So then they did blood tests 30, 60, and 90 minutes later. They had them review the label and they did blood work. 30, 60, and 90 minutes later, the group that thought it was a diet smoothie released 3 times the ghrelin levels in their blood. The hunger hormone ghrelin, it's a peptide in your gut that makes you hungry.
Right.
Then the group that thought it was a fattening, filling smoothie, proving once and for all, without a shadow of a doubt, that just because they believed in their head that it was a diet smoothie, they got 3 times as hungry. And so this goes back to believing in your BS, your belief system, it really all starts there, no matter what goal, no matter what area it is of your life. And as a grandparent, if you haven't had this epiphany yet, you need to have this epiphany, because believing in yourself and your belief system, I think Henry Ford, right? Whether you believe it or not, you're right. Right. And so there was another study that I point out. They took two groups of maids. In one group, they cleaned hotel rooms. They told one group that what they did was good for them, that it met the Surgeon General's requirements for daily exercise. The other group, they told nothing to, and they did blood work, measurements, weighed them in, did BMI, hip to waist ratio. And 4 weeks later, the maids that were simply informed inside their head, their BS, their belief system was that that job was good for them. They lost more weight, had a better hip to waist ratio, had better BMI, and were overall healthier in their blood work, simply because they now were informed. They were just informed. So it's pretty powerful stuff. It all starts with their brain.
So what is Beyond 40?
Beyond 40 is a nutritional supplement company. I like to really call it a movement that we're trying to create. I mean, we sell nutritional supplements, but ultimately the goal is to change people's lives. So once we get them on the supplements, then we offer them a coaching call. And that's really where we get people true results. I mean, you know, changing people's behaviors only happens if they're held accountable. And without accountability and somebody to let down or somebody to report to, most people will fail. I mean, research shows 94% of all dieters gain all or more of their weight back within a year. They did this on the biggest loser contestants from season 7. A year later, almost all of them gained all or more of their weight back. Now, a lot of it was hormonal. We can chat more about that. But Beyond 40 really is a movement to help people redefine aging. And then ultimately, we want to take their lifestyle and help them create not only habits, but actually rituals in their life so they can change their behaviors to be the best person that they can be, whether it's a grandparent or business or spouse or whatever area it is.
Well, also, so what do you say to, you know, we are getting older and there's some things that just happen naturally when you get older. Would you think people should consult a doctor first before they start this kind of stuff? What are your feelings on all that? Because sometimes joints things happen, you know, in long-term injuries from when we played ball when you were younger, you know, all that kind of stuff. Like, how do you address that stuff?
It's a case by case basis, but I think everybody should get blood work done, you know, at least twice a year. When my wife and I first met 15 years ago, a couple of years after we met, she was diagnosed with colorectal cancer. Oh. And we were fortunate enough to catch it early. Okay. In stage 1. And so the radiation and the chemo treatments damaged her ovaries permanently and forced her into early menopause. And the reason that I share this is because she started gaining all kinds of weight in unusual spots after menopause, like her upper belly region. And on her back, like she never used to store it before. So I took a deep dive into hormones, and I found out that it's not just about diet or exercise. It also can be a lot about hormones. And so that's why I recommend everybody across the board. In fact, we're looking at partnering with a doctor right now on the back end to offer blood work. Good. And I think that that's really a true picture of what's going on, because if you really want to feel great after you get 40 years old, 50, 60, that blood work is the only way you're really going to get a true picture of what's happening. And so we encourage everybody to get blood work done. And as far as our supplements go, since the majority of them are lifestyle supplements, there are no stimulants or anything like that, we have no problem putting them on that. Right. So,
yeah. Good. I'm glad. No, that's what I wanted to ask you. I'm glad you said it, because I get blood work done. So folks, my veins are hard to get. So I have to get a baby nurse usually come in. I used to be a nurse myself. So I know I have to get the butterfly thing. But anyway, you still get blood work. I'm a big fan of that also, because you can catch things. And also women get mammograms. My mother had breast cancer during COVID, but they caught it early enough. They got it all out, and she was cancer-free now 2 years. But certain testicular cancer, boys get checked, men get checked. There's certain things that we just get checked, period, no matter what age you are. But as we get older, we got to take care of ourselves. There's just things we have to also look at. When he's talking about the fitness journey, it's also part of the ecosystem of yourself, right? It's everything.
Right. Exactly. It affects everything. For
Now I'm
sure.
gonna ask you. Now I'm gonna ask you a question because the other byproduct of getting older. Sometimes some people get set in their ways because we do. That's the other side of things. Well, I've been through a lot. All that stuff, right? So how do you handle? I mean, I know it's case by case, but kind of in general, what are your thoughts on how handling that above people should be open and not so closed as we get older?
Honestly, if I lead the horse to water and it doesn't know to drink, I just move to the next horse.
Okay, there you go.
I mean, you have to be coachable.
Yeah.
There's just every day, either I'm regressing or I'm growing. Nothing stands still. And so, I mean, to me, at 51 years old, I'm like, okay, we're at halftime.
Yes.
Right.
If we're lucky,
so I still got,
if we're blessed,
I still got like, I'm at halftime now. Like I still got half my life to go. So where most people are like, when am I going to retire? Well, I think there's a derivative or something. It means to die. I don't see retirement in my vocabulary. I always be pursuing and doing something. I always want to be learning and growing. And I think back to your question is you just have to be coachable. Now I could use examples if you don't become coachable, the pain later on from that will become much greater than the pain of actually being coachable. Back when I started my online business, I sold my personal training studios back in 2008. The two doctors who bought them never paid us. And so we had to file a lawsuit to get the money from them. And we end up living off my wife's inheritance for like 3 years. You want to talk about stressful. I was trying to build an online business. I looked at all these other guys that were doing it. I'm like, I started Googling stuff. I started YouTubing stuff. I'm like, these guys can do it. They can do it. 3 years later, I had lost almost everything. Foreclosed on my house. I filed for, my wife and I were separated. We filed for divorce. I was living in my mom's basement at 40 years old, all because of what? All because I didn't get help.
Wow.
So you need to get help. I turned around and I hired a business coach. I flew to San Diego to meet a guy. I hired a coach. And a year later, our business did a hockey stick on the map and exploded, all because I decided to get help. So back to your question, be coachable and don't be afraid to ask for help. It's one of the best things that you can do because somebody else out there has done it better than you.
Yeah.
So there's two ways to learn: mistakes or mentors, right? Mistakes are much more painful. Trust me.
Yeah. Oh, yes, they are. I know. So the big issue for a lot of people at a certain age is belly fat. That seems like the biggest. Men, doesn't matter, men, women, and I mean, right? And this is I said, barring there's certain things, like I said, could be hormonal stuff, things that are going on. Just general belly fat. People just have eaten and don't exercise enough, and you got some stomachs. So what do you handle that kind of? Well, you handled everything, but you handle that kind of stuff. Do you focus on that? So let's talk about that for a little bit, please.
Yeah. So the first thing that I share when I present on stage or we're coaching people, the first thing we do is we share the dynamic duo. And I could provide all kinds of information to you today on how to burn stubborn fat, how to get in hormonal entrainment, how to boost fat loss hormones, how to exercise strategically, get better results in 12 minutes than you could in an hour. I could do all these little things and all these tricks, but without the dynamic duo in place first, none of this other stuff matters. So the first dynamic duo is you must be in a calorie deficit at least 5 days per week. You must burn off more than you take in. This is the number one law of losing fat, belly fat or any type of fat. And this was proven by several different diets, but the one that I like to cite the most is the Twinkie diet. Now, a professor ate nothing but Twinkies and convenience store food. And he had one protein shake a day with this, and that was it. And he ate 1,800 calories a day. And I think his maintenance level was between 25 and 2,600 calories. So he ate nothing but sugar and a protein shake. And he lost 39 pounds. Now, his blood work afterwards was incredible. You would think because of all the sugar, he'd be rotting away on the inside. But because he lost 39 pounds, now they didn't measure how much was water or how much was muscle.
Okay.
So, but you can imagine no more than 5 pounds was water and muscle. I mean, the majority of this is going to be fat, right? And so that's the number one rule is you must burn off more than you take in. The second rule of the dynamic duo is you must eat adequate protein every day. Because when all things are created equal, The dieter, if you took you and your twin, and you guys had the same genetics, the same activity level, and the same exact calorie intake on a daily basis, but your twin consumed more protein than you, he would lose more weight. He would have a faster metabolism. He would have less hunger and cravings. He would gain more muscle, and he would lose less muscle, and he would have more stabilized blood sugar. And so most people talk about cutting carbs or keto or high fat.
Right.
What people don't realize is that protein is the king of all macronutrients because it's the only macronutrient that actually elevates your metabolism when you eat it through a process called DIT, diet-induced thermogenesis. This is also known as TEF, the thermic effect of food. So in other words, just the act of eating protein allows your body to burn 30% more calories than when you eat fats or carbohydrates. So protein is the only macronutrient that will speed up your metabolism on a diet. Now, the first thing that happens when you go on a diet and you put your body in a calorie deficit for 7 days and you don't get adequate protein, you experience a decline in leptin and thyroid hormones. These are the two hormones that regulate your body weight and control the speed of your metabolism. And they both lead to, with a lack of protein intake, leads to something called metabolic slowdown. This is where the metabolism naturally slows down. So adequate protein intake and being in a calorie deficit are the two golden rules. They are the dynamic duo, and they must be in place before anything else that I could teach you would work. If you would just simply put those two rules in place every day, you know you're burning off more than you're taking in, and you get adequate protein. Let fats and carbs fill in the missing gaps. Don't overcomplicate it. You're going to get amazing results over time.
I had a best friend years ago who was really big into, he goes, I eat whatever I want. And I'm like, but you're losing weight. And he's like, because he did a lot of swimming and running. Those are two things he did. And he lost like 6 to 9 pounds in like a year or something like that. Back in the day. And he was like, yeah, because I see him eat pasta and eat all this and eat sweets, and he would eat everything he wanted. And it was like, how do you do that? But it was also portion control. But literally he was like, it's in tandem. It's exercise and the food. It's like it works together. And he notices when he doesn't exercise as much, there's a difference. So everything you're saying, I totally have heard that before. It was just like, this is, it's both things. It's not because I'm seeing a lot of things now where it's like, you don't have to exercise for 5 hours a day. Like in the old days, exercise for hours a day to lose weight. And we're seeing, and you're saying it also, you don't have to necessarily do that. There's several things you can do together that where you can lose weight. Am I hearing that correctly from you?
I call it synergy, right? So it's not diet that's going to get you great results. It's not exercise. It's not your adequate water, your proteins, your vitamins, your minerals. It's the synergistic effect. And so for me, when I talk to people beyond 40, 50, 60 years old, they'll say things to me like, I had a guy in Milwaukee come up to me after he heard me be asked a couple questions, and he came up to me, he goes, Shaun, I weigh 220 pounds. Now I weigh 180. I lost 40 pounds, but I still have belly fat. And I said, well, did you lift weights? He said, no. And I said, did you get adequate protein intake every single day? And he's like, probably not. I'm like, those are the two reasons why. And so if you are a apple or a pear-shaped body, and all you do is cardio and eat right, you shrink down to a smaller pear or apple.
Got it. Okay, got it. Yeah.
But if you lift weights and you build tissue, lean tissue, then now you have something lean, toned, and sculpted to show for it after you start burning off that goo. So it's not diet, it's not exercise. It's going to be the synergistic effect of the diet, the cardio, and the weight training together. And this is where most people miss the boat beyond 40, because after 40, you start experiencing something called sarcopenia, which is a fancy word for muscle loss. Okay. And so lifting weights is the number one antidote to fight aging and fight that muscle loss. And because for every ounce of muscle you have on your body, the more calories you're going to burn sitting at your desk watching TV while you're sleeping. So don't underestimate the power of weight training. So women especially, they're all afraid of bulking up. Right?
Yes.
You should not be afraid of bulking up. You should be afraid of not having enough muscle rather than having too much. Now, there's a very small portion of the population of women that have higher testosterone levels that can bulk up, but I would guess it's well under 10%.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Accountability. Setting goals, goal setting. It's just work, folks, right? This is not, you don't just wake up and it all happens. You have to actually do it. I know it sounds like the simplest thing where I'm saying, but of course but it's sometimes the hardest for people. And so talk about that, a little bit about just, how important that accountability is, maybe getting a partner, finding a coach, finding whoever. But sometimes it takes another person to help us continue that journey, right?
I think it goes back to Body for Life. When I was, 28 years old, I was being held accountable to being a father.
Right. There you go.
To my daughter. Right. And so I think we need that. I think you need to seek accountability. Most of us want to avoid it because it's painful.
Yes.
However, without it, you're not going to succeed. So last year, in July, a good friend of mine came to me and he challenged me to do 75 hard. I don't know if you're familiar with 75
yes,
hard.
I do. I know people who are doing it. Yes.
Yeah, right. So for your listeners, if we want to just share it, it's
Okay,
2 45-minute workouts a day. One's got to be outside. You have to follow a diet, any diet of your choice, no sugar, no cheap food. You got to drink a gallon of water. You got to read 10 pages of nonfiction, and you got to take a progress picture every single day.
Right.
And you got to do this for 75 days straight.
Yes.
And so my buddy challenged me to do this, and I accepted the challenge because I needed a checkup from the neck up. He timed it right. He knew, he could tell. I mean, sometimes we start getting back into our old ways of doing things. So every night I was grabbing the chocolate covered almonds and then, having another glass of wine. And the next thing you know, the belly fat starts adding on. And I would have never, ever made it through 75 hard if it wasn't for the accountability of the group that we had doing it together. We had a text thread going with 16 guys, and I think 12 of us finished. So like 4 guys ended up bailing.
That happens.
Because it's not called 75 kind of hard.
You're sort of hard, or exactly
right.
If you drop out, okay, got it.
But it is a mental toughness program. It's not really a physical fitness program. Yes, you get physically fit automatically, but it was awesome because I hurt both of my knees, and my second workout, I started doing yoga and soft tissue instead of actually working out and walking. And because what happens is you overtrain if you get overzealous with it. But because of those guys holding me accountable, and 95% of them were all younger than me, so there's no way I was going to let these guys beat me. It's just not happening.
Yeah,
and so again, you have so many elements of this that I share with you about the effectiveness of this. Number one, you have a deadline.
Yeah.
Okay. So Joel Marion, the guy who challenged us, said about a weekend, he told everybody, whoever finishes, I'm buying this house in Cabo for 5 days and flying everybody there.
All righty. There you go. Okay.
So we have a carrot. We dangled the carrot and we had a deadline. I had the group of accountability. There's no way I was going to text them, oh, I didn't get my gallon of water today, or I didn't get my workout, because then I'm out. Right. And so you have this accountability to the group, to Joel, who is a very good friend of mine, who I'd never want to let down. So who in your life can you be held accountable to that you would never let down?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Find that person and have them coach you. So deadlines, rewards, right, and accountability. These are the things that you need to put in place that change those daily patterns and build those habits and rituals in your life. And so it's just like having a cheat meal.
Yeah.
If I know Saturday I get my pizza and my favorite cheesecake.
Yes.
Well, it's going to give me the motivation to make the right decision today.
Okay.
Because I know I have that reward, that carrot is dangled. And if I say to myself, oh my gosh, if I grab this handful of chips right now, then I don't get my pizza or my cheesecake. And if you have that rule in your life and you stand by that rule and you dangle that carrot every week, that cheat day or that cheat meal, as long as you don't binge or go crazy, can allow you to be more disciplined the other 6 days of the week.
Yeah. Are you a snacker by nature?
I have a couple rules on snacking. In fact, I would challenge.
I'm not a snacker. I'm not a snacker. I was always I was a fooder. That's not a word, but you know what I mean. When I ate. But I'm not a person who naturally grabs for stuff. Please go ahead.
I'm glad that you said that, because I think if you just quit snacking, if you're a snacker and you just quit snacking, you're going to lose belly fat.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay. So I have a rule when I start a plan, because I have trigger foods. So nuts, peanut butter and nut butters.
Peanut butter, yes. Oh, how funny. Okay.
And so I am not allowed to have those Monday through Friday. I don't allow myself cheese, nut butters, or nuts. Now, not only that, most people don't know that things like nut and nut butters are so calorie dense. They view them as protein. They're really fat. And if you take a tablespoon of peanut butter, which by the way, nobody ever has a tablespoon.
No,
They
you
always
never
have
do. You
like
never do. I never do.
they
Yeah.
do a scoop and it's like three of them.
Yeah.
But literally, I know just by having that simple rule in place that I just avoid those three foods during the week, that I'm cutting out 400 to 500 calories a day out of my diet during the week. Just like that. I create a deficit. Now, as far as snacking goes, there's nothing unhealthy about snacking itself,
Okay.
but it can become unhealthy. Obviously, choices are everything, right? But you'd have to keep in mind that every time that you eat food, you increase insulin, even if it's a healthy choice. And in the presence of insulin, your body really can't access stored fat cells as a fuel source. So if you eat 6 small meals a day and they're all healthy choices and you keep your body in a deficit and you get adequate protein, yes, you can get amazing results with doing that.
Yeah.
But I would argue that it's a lot easier just to forego that and have the same amount of food in 3 meals. Now you're not worrying about eating every 2 or 3 hours, right? Because it becomes very tough to adhere to. And I could give you 1,000 ways to skin the fat loss cat. At the end of the day, the best diet to follow is one that you can stick to, right? Yeah. Without adherence, then no diet matters. So snacking in general can be healthy if you do it right. But I think just we're taught to eat. If you're not eating, who's making money?
That's true. That's true. That's true. You're right.
Nobody.
You're right. You're right.
So they want you to snack.
They do.
Right?
I know they do. Hello, everywhere. You go to the store, as you're leaving the store, on the way to the register, all snack foods, all on both sides of the aisles.
And then you program your ghrelin to release more. So your ghrelin pulses, the peptide hunger hormone in your gut. If you eat more, you'll release more of that. Yeah. And so that's why I love things like intermittent fasting for hormonal entrainment, right? So because it can help people, it helps people eliminate their emotional attachment to eating every few hours. And it helps people eliminate their emotional attachment to snacking, because you're going a set period and a set window, 4 or 5 days per week, I recommend, where you're not eating. Yeah. And then what happens is after about a week of doing that, you just don't get hungry during that window anymore, because you reprogram your ghrelin. You get hormonal entrainment. And now my ghrelin doesn't even release until 1 to 3 in the afternoon. I don't even get hungry until like 1 or 3 in the afternoon.
I've been doing intermittent fasting for about 2 or 3 months now. And so I stop eating around 8, and then I don't eat until noon. And so now I'm starting to see the results of that. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, now I'm getting hungry. Like I do drink coffee in the morning, but only 1 cup. I don't drink more than 1 cup. But I'm noticing that my hunger, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not as starving when I wake up anymore. Like I used to be starving when I woke up. I had to grab something. It was banana or something or whatever. I just had to grab something. But now I'm like, oh, I'm good. Now I look like, oh, it's 12:30. Okay, now I'll eat something. Like now I'm not waiting for food. That was
it's it's hormonal entrainment. You've trained your ghrelin levels to release at a set time every day. Yeah. And people who try intermittent fasting that get really hungry, I would argue that if you just drink water, that'll make the hunger pains go away. And then after a week or two, you won't even get hungry anymore, because you retrain your ghrelin.
Shaun, give people drink water sometimes. It's like you said, leading the horse there. They don't drink it. I have so many friends who don't drink water. Like they don't drink. I'm like, for me, there's sometimes water. I don't drink sodas anyway. I gave up sodas years ago. I don't do that kind of stuff. But for me, water sometimes is the only thing that's thirst quenching for me. I can't drink it. I mean, I like juices, so I drink those in moderation. But like when it comes to water, I drink water all the time. I love water. I got water in my. I always have water somewhere. And I mean, I have water in this drawer. I got water everywhere. I always have water everywhere, and I think it's good for skin. It's good for everything. But I know friends who don't drink water at all. I'm like, how do you not drink water? So I don't know how to get people to drink water sometimes. I don't even. We have a drought out here in California already as it is.
Well, you need to remember that the more water you give your body, the less it'll hold. So if you're feeling bloated,
right,
drink more water.
I pee a lot, Shaun. I pee a lot, and it's all nice and clear. Everybody knows what's going on. It's all good. I don't drink, but I do. I know I love water, and right now it's hot in LA these days. I'm just like, I'm always drinking water. I mean, that's the first thing I grab. A nice. For me, I like room temperature water. I'm not a huge cold or hot fan. I can do both, but I just want to drink it and just like I feel better. Like but I have folks I have one friend who never drinks water, never.
I know
Never.
plenty of people that don't drink water, and water is life. I mean, I could give
It
you
is.
30 different studies showing that people who drink water before meals eat less. People who drink water before meals lose more weight. They feel fuller longer. They have better energy, better mental clarity, better digestive function, better organ function. So we could go on and on
I
about the
know.
benefits of water. So, I mean, if you're out there and you're listening to this, you're not drinking your water, figure out a way to throw some fruit in there to, sweeten it up maybe a little bit. Take half your body weight. That's the number of ounces of water you should have a day. So if you weigh 180 pounds, you should have at least half of that in the number of ounces you should have on a daily
Wait,
basis.
so Shaun, what is your thought? You just said something that made me think. I never asked this question forever, but anyway, I'm asking you this question. What are your thoughts on flavored water? There's a lot of flavored waters out there now. Some with no sugar, some which I mean, what are your thoughts on those?
I think the ones like Hint that just
Yes.
have a hint to really just adding some essence
Yes.
are going to be way healthier than ones that have. Most of them are flavored with things like sucralose, which is Splenda, which
Yeah.
is chlorinated sugar. And so that can have an impact on insulin levels. So if you're fasting, for example, and you have flavored water, well, that sucralose in that water could actually break your fast because it can trigger insulin. And insulin obviously takes your body out of a fat burning environment. So things like flavor, I think if it's like no water or flavored water, I think it's probably a better choice just to have the flavored because you're at least getting your water intake. But these are just some things to keep in mind.
So thanks for answering that. I never asked that before. I was like, I just want to. I know some folks who well, I have some Waterloo water back there that someone gave me. I haven't opened it up yet. Where it's not heavy sugar in it, but there's some that you're right they have heavy sugar substitutes in them, and I don't like them. Well, but I like Hint actually. I don't drink it that often, but I like regular. I like plain old. I'm all crystal guys. Like, give me some plain old water. Give me some plain old water. I'm good to go with that. Shaun, you're amazing. I'm so glad to have talked to you. You're welcome back anytime because you are the Rip Grandpa. This is our show about grandparents. I want you to now, it's your turn to promote yourself and your business. Please go right ahead. I'll put all the stuff in the descriptions too, but promote.
Yeah, so I come on shows like this to add value, to solve problems, to motivate and inspire and build trust. So I'm not here to pitch or sell anything, but if you are interested in my products, it's beyond40.com. You can also get there by going to theripgrandpa.com and you'll see our nutritional supplements. My big recommendation is hang out on YouTube. Look up Beyond 40. Coach Terrell, a girl that's on my team who's an influencer, and I post amazing content and amazing videos. It's all designed for the hormonal condition and the metabolism of people who are beyond 40, 50, or 60 years old. So all the tactics will be stuff that you can apply. And again, it goes back to what I said at the beginning of this call. When you become healthier physically, you become healthier in every other area of your life. I know from Body for Life till being a papa now, that's fuels every area of my life. And when my diet, my exercise are in line, then I am the world's best papa. And so, and if you want to check me out on Instagram, my handle is the Rip Grandpa.
Yep. Shaun Hadsall, you guys. And of course, I am James Lott Jr. and we're all James Lott Jr. are sold at James Lott Jr. and all social media platforms, including TikTok. Yes, I'm on TikTok. But yes, you find JLJ Media, which is my online network here on YouTube. Hit that like button, hit that bell, get new information when new shows come out. We have over 35 shows. We talk about Star Trek, we talk about soap, we talk about everything on this channel. We're also about grandparenthood. So there's more episodes. There's 39 other episodes previous to this one. Check those out. And one where I interviewed my grandson. So actually, it's very interesting. It was a very surreal experience. Very surreal experience interviewing him. And finding out what he thinks about me, knowing what I do, that I'm in the public eye. So it's very interesting. That's here on this channel. And what you're doing, Shaun, is you're actually creating a legacy online for your family, for your grandkids for years to come. Someone said that to me the other day. They go, James, what you're doing is instead of having pictures, like people always have pictures of grandparents, they're gonna have video of us. They can actually, right. I want to see Grandpa Shaun. They can actually look you up. And that's a legacy that you're giving them. And so, thanks for doing that. And I think it's a wonderful thing. So, but follow us, grandparents. This is for the old guys, and we'll see you next time.